Okay, I will call this meeting to order on April 28th of the Windsor Southeast Supervisory School Board. Changes, additions to the agenda.
I have one new hire to bring that wasn't on the agenda.
Okay. So FYI, we will have an executive session, possibly a vote afterwards on the contract, the support staff contract.
Okay.
Depending on where we're at. But, we will go into executive session to discuss the particulars on that. Any other changes? Okay, without further ado, the most exciting part of the night, student report and bystander training.
All right.
Is this just the start of green screen?
There we go.
Trained workshop. This is John and Jay's question.
Let's see. Here we go. I'll have to look it again. Okay.
You guys should have had this morning rehearsal. Where we went. The Train the Trainer empowering youth to address hazing, harassment, and bullying. An all-day youth-led training offering workshops on bystander intervention, know your rights, and advocacy to change the school culture. 22 students joined this training, 10 schools from all over Vermont. Other students led the 3 workshops.
Live event to stop bullying at our school. We hear words and name calling very often.
What we learned, hazing is when someone is forced to do something embarrassing or dangerous in order to join or stay in a group or a club. Harassment is when someone keeps bothering, threatening, or upsetting another person on purpose, and it's about someone's appearance, race, gender, religion, or anything else personal. Bullying is when someone repeatedly uses their power to hurt or control another person physically, verbally, or online, which is called cyberbullying.
What we will do with it. Intervene when a peer says something. All we do is peer last week said that's harassment in response to something. Jace corrected him and said what harassment actually is.
Good job, Jess.
At the start of the next year, help Mrs. South and Mrs. Victor with a presentation about hazing, harassment, and bullying, and what to do as a middle schooler.
We get to ask you questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, do you see these skills, the last slide talked about in middle school, do you see these skills transitioning into high school?
Probably, yeah. There.
Do you think that harassment, hazing, and bullying is more prevalent in middle school? Or do you think it's pretty much the same throughout elementary, primary, elementary, middle school? And
Yeah,
high school?
it's literally everywhere. Yeah.
Another question?
Elizabeth?
Hi, thank you for your presentation, and I cannot believe that you are in middle school, Jace. You'll always be in kindergarten in my mind. I was wondering if you're planning to make presentations at all of the schools in our supervisory union.
No,
I mean, that might be
planning on it.
I mean, maybe if we want to, if we get the bonus of cash.
I don't know if you guys told them that you had a
Pretty late
cash,
in the fiscal year, so.
cash, there was a cash bonus payment for them to go to this training. So that was, it was exciting that they also applied and had to be accepted.
Do you both go to Heartland?
No,
We go to
Windsor.
Windsor. Like,
Oh, okay.
Valley.
Gotcha. Well, that was a great presentation, and thank you very much. I really appreciated hearing about that.
Thanks.
So my question is, what do you think was the most interesting or sort of enlightening thing that you learned through this training that you might not have been aware of before?
Probably the difference between hazing and harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the kind of breakdown in terminology.
I know that Ms. Richter definitely talked to both Elijah and Jace about their thoughts, now being the only two people in the middle school this year trained. The only other trainings we had in the middle school were last year, a couple sessions with the restorative circle workshops and work there. But with these two being our only two trained students in this area, I'm sure they would be invited to do something similar again next year, but wanting them to not have to lead it or do all of it, but to work alongside Ms. Richter and myself to like help have these presentations for the middle school.
Sounds fun.
So I got a quick story to show you a perspective of how far we've come. When I was a freshman, fresh out of middle school, there was something called freshman hazing, which is about as blatant as a label of hazing as you can get. So because I grew up on a sheep farm, I had to go around on that day with a little Bo Peep tutu all day long. And there actually was a picture of me in the yearbook playing basketball without a shoe in a tutu in Central. So
We don't do that anymore.
yeah, it would go from that level of accepted hazing and realizing how damaging it could be. And you young men have been trained to identify that. Do you think we've come that far?
Mhm.
Do you think we still have a long way to go?
Probably.
Okay, thank you.
I think one of the big steps is exactly what you shared here, Elijah, is that somebody had mentioned something in class and Jace said, well, actually, this is the definition of harassment. And Ms. Price and I touched base with a couple students today who did something similar. So I think when we hear more people standing up and stepping into a conversation and saying, that's not okay, this is what this means, those are great leadership skills that you guys are sharing with the rest of us. So thank you for that.
Okay.
It does take a lot of work. We as large mammals, like dolphins and whales, are hardwired to demand conformity during adolescence. I know that might be a little, but it's hardwired into us. And to unhardwire that and become a civilized society, we have to work very hard against that. So you guys have taken that step to work very hard on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Price, you were there. Is there anything you want to add to what you noticed for the day?
I mean, you all were engaged and you took a day to go to this workshop. That was a day that there was no school. So even like bonus on top of that. So, yeah, it was totally my pleasure bringing y'all and I am here to support whatever you decide to do next in this.
Okay.
And I hope you share your experience with students, and I'm sure you're gonna, especially about the process and the bonus pay. I mean, all that is good things to share.
And thank you, parents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you
Okay,
guys
thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us.
Thank you. Well done.
Approval of minutes. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of March 24th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? They're pretty basic, as it was a reorganization meeting. Okay, I will take a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay. Public participation. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in. Any public comment? Going once, and twice. Okay, thank you. Policy discussion followed by a motion. I'd like to clean that language up in the beginning, but the reality is we have no motions today because we have just 4 policies. The first one is a second reading. And so I'll open the floor up for active hate policy. Any discussion on that? John? No, I think, John, you're muted.
Okay. After reading it, I hope that we never have to use it, but if we do, I think we have to be very cognizant of people's First Amendment rights. As repulsive as things that people say, they still have a right to say it quite often. And since the policy includes outside of school functions and people's actions, I think we have to be really careful.
Yeah, thank you, John. I agree with you, John. At the same time, the policy is well written to address that and outline it. But your point of being careful with it isn't going to go away. I think the policy outlines the simple fact that if this is going to be used, administration in particular have to use it very carefully.
I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion? I guess I'm interested to hear if, next time we meet, it will be the third reading. Is there any concerns? John brought up a really good point about being careful, but are there any other concerns about voting on this during the next meeting? Okay. Yes.
So Lori added the policy references, Davis, that you brought up last time. She put them at the very
yes.
end. Do you want them in the interaction with other policy section, or do you want them at the end?
Oh, I see. We got it. Yeah, the reference part.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to link them, if it's possible, just to link them there in the body.
In the interaction with other
Yeah, I think you
policies,
could probably have
okay.
them in both places. Yeah, just to make it
Okay.
really
Yeah,
clear
I'll have her
how
do that.
this. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
I'll call on Elizabeth first before I interject. I've been
Thank
working
you.
on that.
Are there going to be procedures that go along with this?
I think there have to be.
I think so. We'll have to work on
And
those.
fairly complicated and
Yeah.
even webbed procedures.
Yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't actually name who will be doing the investigations at all. And by the way, I heard from a constituent that the Mount Escutney School District or the Windsor School doesn't actually follow its own policy with regards to investigating hazing, harassment, and bullying. It's not supposed to have only principals be the investigators. So according to the handbook, but I'd like to know what your thoughts are about who might do the investigation and whether the same person would be handing out any potential, like who would hand out the potential punishment, and would that be the same? Like, who would it be? One person doing the investigation? Would it be a group? I don't think that's very well laid out.
I think that definitely would be, may I jump in?
Yeah.
Just as sort of my
Just thinking,
perspective
yeah.
on it, seeing I've read the policy several times, I'm sure as you have. My perspective on it, it would be that in the procedure, you would lay out who would do the investigation. And at least I feel, maybe Christine could put in her opinion as well, that any possible consequence would be doled out via the building principal.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And we would get consultation,
Yeah.
like when needed. And I just had a, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Elizabeth, can you repeat what you said before? I was confused by what you were saying about the HHB policy.
Hold on a second.
Just because we want to make sure we're doing it right.
Hang on. Okay, first of all, it says, I mean, I think that we need to take another look at student conduct and discipline because we don't follow it. It says under administrative responsibilities that the principal, in consultation with educational staff, will develop an overall discipline plan, quote, the plan, unquote, pursuant to 16 VSA 1161A. It says under the procedure for student conduct and discipline, C15, it says the expectations for student behavior and consequences for violating rules must be clearly stated in the student handbook. It's not. It says the rules must be communicated to students and families beginning at the school year and enforced consistently, which doesn't necessarily happen besides parents checking a box that they've read the handbook. It says that, let's see. It says that if a student is on I mean, I think we should, in other words, I think we should revisit this because we're not necessarily doing this it says that if a student is on an IEP, a manifestation meeting will occur after 10 days of suspension. You can actually suspend a student on an IEP. And that's it.
Which policy are you looking at? C15?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought you were talking about hazing, harassment, and bullying. Okay,
Sorry.
yeah. No, that's okay.
I don't think it was, I'm not 100% sure if you're referring to a letter that I read as well. And we'll probably, I'm sure Davis will bring it up.
I'm not referring to a letter. I'm not referring to a letter. I'm referring to some other communication from a different person.
Okay. I feel very strongly that we as a school district can do better in anything to do with behavior. At the same time, I would push back at overly prescribing consequences within a policy.
I'm just saying that we're not following our own policy.
We have to put the, we've been working on a behavior matrix.
Yep.
And it is in, we're testing it out. It should be ready to be publicized next year. We know that. It's on our list of things to do. So yes, you're right. And it's on the list, which I think we publicized part of it this year, the part we were ready to publicize in the handbook. The rest is on our list for what we're going to publicize in the fall. But yeah, I hear you, Elizabeth. It needs to be really loud and clear. And
Davis.
Yeah, and this kind of falls in line with what we're talking about here. I think what might be helpful with the acts of hate policy, and I think it's good to have them reference at the end.
Yeah.
I generally, I think if you reference a policy in the body and it is a digital document, just linking it directly to where you noted is a good idea. When it comes to, I would maybe just look at, just as a way of not duplicating this stuff and duplicating how follow through looks coming from a policy level. If there's anything in this student conduct and discipline policy, and I'm thinking specifically about the administrative responsibilities section, that even in brief can just be cited in there in the body a little bit, and then reference back towards this policy. I know, Elizabeth and Bill both talked about the fact that there is work happening at the district level to make sure that there's clear communication about procedures, and there's kind of I don't want to say overhaul necessarily, but there's a lot of work being done to make sure that those are reflective of what the policy intends and are being implemented fully. But part of that, I think, is making sure that when we put these new policies into place, just being, when there's gaps where it may not be clear how these things interact, pointing to the policy that is the most relevant to it, which I think in this case would be the what is it, C15, yeah. Just kind of blurbing it in there might be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Title I compatibility. Any discussion on this? Okay, I'm more than happy to jump in, because I have some real issues with this policy around the fact the school district in which the school is located shall provide compatible service, staffing level, and curriculum material and instructional supply for Title I eligibility and non-Title I eligibility school. The district shall use local and state funds to ensure equivalence among schools and staffing and provide provision of curriculum material and instructional supplies. My main issue with that is that it is creating a policy that mandates a program staffing that is not necessarily required. And at this point, the only two schools that this would apply to would be Albert Bridge and Windsor schools, because it's the only school that has multiple schools in its district. And so if Windsor qualifies for Title I, this policy would require Albert Bridge to have the same staffing levels, regardless if it is needed or not for Title I instruction. And as we have discussed and reviewed a lot, equality is not always equal. And requiring a school to staff and follow Title I procedures, I don't see as a good use of funds.
Maybe change the school district to something else, supervisory union. Let's see if it fits.
I'm not sure what the point of that section is. You know,
Well, yeah,
Title I funding is funding, federal funding. We all have anxiety that it could go away. I don't prescribe to that worry just because don't worry about something you don't have control of. But yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose of that is.
I can share what I know. It's
Okay.
helpful, and we can ask Angie to be here. I know that she has to do a comparability report, and it's based on free and reduced numbers, like percentages.
Mhm.
And I was just talking to her about it today. So our rates change, our free and reduced rates change yearly. This past year, for next year, Heartland's jumped 8%, Weathersfield's decreased. So the way she explained it to me is she can't actually have because Heartland and Weathersfield are roughly the same size now, even though their free and reduced rates are different, Weathersfield's are lower. So she cannot have a more expensive interventionist at Weathersfield than she does at Heartland. So the comparability is around how much money you're spending based on the free and reduced rates. I think that's what this is addressing, but
That's not what it does. Because it just talks about compatibility within a district.
yeah. So I'll ask Angie to make sure she's here next month. She's the expert on it, so.
But Davis?
I guess my question is that this is, I'm guessing this is being updated due to, this VSBA review. This is a policy that has been in place previously based on the red old.
Yeah.
Does it, looking at the language, I guess, other than kind of reorganizing how it's structured on paper, does this materially change anything by adding the kind of new yellow language and replacing that old red language? It doesn't seem that different.
It does, though.
So what?
Well,
I guess help me. I'm having trouble kind of
Well,
processing
it may be how it's written, but basically what it does is that if Windsor qualifies for Title I, which it does, that means all other schools within its district must have the same Title I services available.
Mhm.
And
that wasn't the case under the older version of D4.
no.
Okay. And that would be the language in which the school is located that's been inserted?
Yeah, and I have no idea how that would be any way part with Title I requirements. Title I requirements are quite simply that a school must be 40% or more poverty level to qualify as a Title I school.
For school-wide program, yeah.
Yeah, and so, and it says quite clearly the district shall use local and state funds to ensure equivalence among schools and staffing.
Mhm.
That's pretty prescriptive within a policy. Beth?
I don't necessarily agree with that wording. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like in my mind that you're not going to go get another, like you should have the same ratio of children to children to teachers, no matter, regardless of what school you're going to across the district, as well as services, meaning they should all be getting an equivalent lunch. They should all be, equal to whatever intervention services, like one school should not have any interventionists and one school should have interventionists. In my mind, there should be equivalence regardless of their Title I or not. I mean, that seems highly inequitable.
Right, but that's not what this policy does, because this is specifically Title I compatibility. It's not about what the students need. It's that there is a compatible level of Title I instruction availability between schools. And basing that on whether another building is Title I or not makes absolutely no sense to me, because I agree with you that there needs to be the appropriate level of intervention, but making it a Title I intervention sort of outline is not always the best use of money within a instructional framework. Okay, and also, I mean, the funding changes within special ed and poverty funding makes that really unnecessary, because that funding for students of poverty is already there. My biggest concern is that this language, and we can get a legal opinion on it if people want, this language very clearly states out that each building must have the equivalent Title I staffing. It's not about intervention, it's about Title I staffing. And that makes absolutely no sense to me.
And we don't,
And we don't. I mean,
by the
and
way.
I don't think we should.
Right.
And so I think this needs to be looked at and basically reworked to hope and do what it was intended to do, because I don't think it does. That's just my concern. But this is a first reading, and so I'm more than welcome to push my concern and listen to other people's perspective on it. Yes, David.
And this is just one quick, and we may not have the answer to this being a first meeting, but I have run into this before where when the word district is used in this, because this is an SU level policy, are we talking about the district as like what we call a district, a smaller unit within the supervisory union? Or is it using district to mean the supervisory union?
Well, if it's the supervisory union, then it's even more concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what, and that to me, I've seen that used interchangeably
Yeah.
before. So that's another thing I think
Right.
going to a second reading, we're gonna want to clarify.
Yeah.
Because that really materially changes what this policy means.
I mean, I think in the bullets and in the rest of the language, they kind of address that they're not talking about, like, well, they do say staffing levels, but everything else that they talk about is,
Well, the bullets are the procedures.
Yeah.
So,
oh,
and
but they don't address staffing levels, like nowhere else does it address staffing levels.
Yeah.
Everywhere else it's about equal pay and.
And it's the fact that it's talking about, and what made me think of that is it's talking about, salary schedules and stuff. I mean, for
Yeah.
professional, that happens at the SU level.
Right.
But if we're talking in district terms, then it's saying district meaning SU.
right.
So,
But that's bizarre. Usually their stuff is a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We give it back.
D5 animal dissection. This is another first read. I have a quick question. Is this based in anything legislative?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Not that I've heard. Doesn't mean it's not there, just not that I've heard.
I mean, I have some problem with it if at any point we're able to expand our curriculum by having, a larger high school of sort, to be able to have advanced biology classes. It gets kind of difficult to run an advanced biology class if a student is unwilling to do. What's the purpose of this? Does anyone know?
Safeguard a student's right to be excused from participating in the lesson, which is from the policy statement. Yeah.
Mostly the opt-out for students
Yeah.
who are not comfortable, anti.
I mean, there could also, I think, be cultural, religious, beyond just personal reasons that a student would not do this. And I think too, and again, this comes down to resources to some extent, but there are ways of virtually simulating that kind of experience that are available now. Whether they're accessible to us at this moment, I don't know.
I did lots of animal dissections at my time, and it was it was my observation that those students who were the most hesitant to do an animal dissection, of course, I always allowed opt-out, but those students who were the least willing to do animal dissection were the ones who I couldn't pull I had to pull the knife from their hand. Because they were so entwined and engaged in the activity. But I mean, I have no issue with it, but still, it's just sort of.
Bill, I'm sorry, it looks like on the next page, there are some statutes.
Okay. I thought there might have
Yeah.
been.
Which is, looks like they took the language right from the statute.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? F1 travel reimbursement. I don't know, Larry, is there any financial changes that brought this about?
I think it's just an update of the VSBA.
Yeah.
We've done it for years.
Yeah.
That's right. And every year we use the federal guidelines for mileage reimbursement.
So when they choose one, it would be, there's 3 different ones.
We use mileage based.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on this one? Yeah. Okay. Superintendent's report. As Christine is ready, Elizabeth, you look wonderful tonight. You got that nice, healthy smile on your face. I look up and I see you smile, and I'm like, it just makes me feel so happy.
Aw, thanks, Phil.
I actually agree with Bill because I thought it earlier.
Yeah.
He said it.
Thank you.
I think we're just happy to see the sun.
Well, Elizabeth is gonna help me in a bit with my presentation when we get to the legislative stuff. So let's start with something a little more fun to talk about. Hold this up real quick. Oh, it's so slow. All right. Okay, so I just want to start by connecting us to our strategic plan goals. The one one of the 3 is culture and student and staff wellness. So I couldn't help but share some pictures of we had 2 elementary middle school plays last month. One was at Heartland, which was the picture in the middle, which was Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. It was quite amazing, as the plays just really amaze me what we can do in our little schools in terms of drama production. So, and it takes a huge effort. It's school staff and parents and community and students. So it was great. Weathersfield ran Peter Pan Jr., which was also amazing. And Windsor's about to have their play. Oh, Colleen, help me.
Friday and Saturday,
Yeah,
7 p.m.
the
2
title.
p.m. in Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. So we've got another one coming this weekend.
3 plays this weekend.
3 plays this weekend.
That's really cool. I played percussion on both of those plays.
Just this year?
No, in the
Oh,
past.
okay.
So,
Say, wow, but I know Nikki does. Nikki plays.
And Charlie Brown.
Yeah, so they were amazing and the kids did a great job. And so I just wanted to highlight that. We've got some kids there at Albert Bridge. They had an author's day. Every student in the school wrote a book and shared them all with each other. And I was able to spend a little bit of time there looking at their books, which was just also really promote school culture when everybody's doing something and older kids are reading to younger kids. And so it was wonderful to see. We've got a student up there receiving a Heart Award at Heartland. And I know the schools focus on really promoting leadership and respect and kindness. And they highlight that in monthly award ceremonies and assemblies. So I wanted to share that. The next slide is student success and engagement goal. We have the High School National Honor Society inductees. This was a couple of weeks ago they were inducted. Those are the new students in the National Honor Society at the high school level. And then in the middle, where they're all dressed in black. The middle school has its first chapter of the Junior National Honor Society. So those students are been inducted into the Junior National Honor Society. And I think the students really wanted this, and Colleen helped make it happen. So
Yeah, and they all applied, and Mr. Avent, who is our high school National Honor Society advisor, is also the National Junior Honor Society advisor. So he's doing a lot of things, activities with them together, and all of those students will be able to keep up their criteria and membership through their 9th grade year, and just kind of give them that extra leg as they want to move forward to a high school National Honor Society. So we're really excited that this was
pretty awesome.
first year we did this, and a lot of it is thanks to Mr. Avent for bringing that to us, and the kids were really excited, and the whole 8th grade was welcome to apply, and all of our 8th graders are still welcome to apply throughout
Their experience.
now through the end of the year, and they can be in the fall induction.
It's great. And I just wanted to share a few pictures of our student-led conferences. I'll share the data in a minute about our participation rates, but you see some families and some students leading the conversation, which is pretty exciting. One last highlight around student success. We have 2 students from Albert Bridge School, the academic team club, that are headed to the national academic competition in May. We have Lev Barakian for the geography B and Henry Yates for the history B. So there they are in the pic. Oh, I didn't turn the page. I'm sorry. There you go. There they are. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So Henry also scored high enough to earn a spot at the International History B, which is in Paris this summer. So they're deciding whether they're going to be able to make that happen. There's a cost to it, and yeah. So it's very exciting. Yeah. Okay. Here's the conference data for you that we've collected so far. Our spring conferences, our student-led conferences. Typically our fall conferences are more attended than our spring, but we have pretty good results this year. For Heartland, 77% at the elementary level and 68% at the middle level. Weathersfield, 87% for elementary and 64% for middle. Albert Bridge, a total of 94.8 participation. It's a whole school. Windsor Elementary at 84.3, Windsor Middle at 71%. And Colleen reported that 32 of the students are scheduled to finish.
We're below
working.
28 now. We're at about
we're getting there.
74% right now today.
And high school had 29% of students participating in student-led conferences. So that's the data. And now we're going to move on to the legislative updates, and Elizabeth is going to join me in presenting tonight. So when I did the report, I was trying to tease out some of the important parts of H454, which passed out of the House recently. And I did that, and I'll go through a little bit of it. But then on Thursday evening, I think, or Friday morning, I found out that the Senate has responded. So I'll do a little comparison of what the two look like. So I won't read it all, but this is a comprehensive overhaul of the education system, including governance, standards, and funding. So I think this came out of last year's having so many budgets in the state fail. And this was a response to that from the legislature. So under governance and administration, what the proposal that came out of the House does, it expands the Commission on the Future of Public Education. It recommends adding 5 non-voting members to the commission to form a school boundary subcommittee, which is, from my understanding, these are people that are knowledgeable in the field, perhaps some retired superintendents or people that really have expertise in this area who will gather data for the next 6 months or so around population, school population, facilities, where it makes sense to draw lines and whatnot. And that would be due back to the legislature by December 1st of 2020. I thought it was 2025, but my notes say 26, so I'd have to look at that. There's some work on a state aid for school construction program, because we know if we're gonna make changes and consolidate schools, that might mean that we need to be creating new schools or building new schools. So there's a task force on that. And the bill also requires the Agency of Education to develop a 3-year special ed strategic plan by December 1st, focusing on measurable outcomes and Act 173 implementation. So there's pieces of it. There's some education quality and standards within the bill around class size minimums, which would be kindergarten 12, grades 1 through 4, 15 kids, and 5 through 12, 18. And there's some limitations for multi-age classrooms. That means you can't combine more than 2 grade levels. There's some school size language. So yeah.
But that portion's not in the Senate portion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm breezing through this so I can get to the comparison. There's some school size intent in the language as well. Any school that has operates 6 through 12 or any subset of those grades would have a minimum enrollment of 450 kids.
Christine, if I may.
Yeah. Yes, please.
That was
Go back.
That was stuck in there as a placeholder.
Okay.
So that they could have a section on school construction financing.
Okay.
So that's not finalized because they don't have anything for school construction financing. They just wanted to make sure that it was in the bill.
Okay. So that they could address it when they need to. Okay.
That's
Thanks,
right.
Elizabeth.
And also, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that the fact that it's grades 6 through 12. And all of that is appealable in the bill, in the House bill.
In the House bill. Okay.
So Elizabeth, which part is only applicable to 6 through 12? The 450?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the class size minimums is also appealable.
So Elizabeth, where it says any subset of those grades, so thinking about the schools in our supervisory union, Heartland, Weathersfield, they're K-8, so it's my understanding they would be included in that because they have a subset of those grades. Is that your understanding?
My understanding is that what they envision is regional high schools and regional middle schools.
Okay. Okay. All right. Moving right along. There's a lot to it. The part of the bill is education finance system transformation, and that is talk of a new foundation formula that would go into effect in July 2029, contingent on the new school districts. The bill repeals most of the current statewide education finance formula and introduces a new foundation formula, and that would be districts would receive an opportunity payment per student, and then that would be adjusted annually for inflation, and I believe by the long-term weighted membership. Okay.
And also the weights, the pupil.
And the weights, yep. And then there's some statewide property tax restructuring as well. I think Elizabeth was sharing some of this with us in the past. It does establish 4 property tax classifications: homestead, non-homestead apartment, non-homestead residential, and non-homestead non-residential. So there might be different ways of taxing, so you can afford to pay for education. And there are tax credits that go along with that formula. Okay, I just hot off the press today, so let me pull this up. I did share it with you earlier because it wasn't in my report. You have it in your email. I just need to get to it. Hold on. Okay.
So one of the things that one of the differences between the House and the Senate is that the Senate shutters the the commission altogether. The Commission on the Future Public Education of Vermont, according to the Senate, would be done and replaced with a legislative task force of 6 members. They would have to, you don't include this in there, but according to the Senate, they would have to decide on everything about governance by August 1st, 2025.
Yeah.
That's just
And
like
It's
that's
crazy.
including,
insane.
that's like, that's including after the legislative session. So it would be between June and August
It'd
that
be
they
like
would.
2.5 months.
Well, that's what they did in Act 46. It's like, let's just rush everything, so nothing's
Right, so
done well.
nothing makes sense and it's
Yeah.
all crap.
Yeah. That's that first section on school district boundaries. So the House version, there's a more robust committee working on it with people that have some expertise, and the Senate version does not have that. I'm just gonna put it at that. Let me scroll down. School size, a school and class scale, that what we just talked about, and there's no language in that, in the Senate response to address school and class size scale. Statewide cohesion, the House bill included a statewide calendar, statewide financial and student information systems, which I just want to say, tackling that in and of itself is a huge undertaking.
So if there's fewer districts.
Yeah, right. So moving to those, we just need to be methodical and thoughtful about how we do that and when we do that. The Senate response is only graduation requirements. Prohibition on school closure and transition to paying tuition. I'm sorry, I scrolled up too far. So under the House bill, it requires those districts that close schools to designate up to 3 public schools rather than moving to full choice tuitioning. The Senate bill does not include anything on that. State aid for construction stays the same. Tuition eligibility is a big, there's a big difference here. In the House bill, it allows tuitioning to independent schools that have at least 51% of their student enrollment composed of publicly funded students attending during this school year, and only allows out-of-state tuitioning to public schools and therapeutic schools. The Senate response is allowing tuitioning to independent schools operating in a district or supervisory union that relies on choice as of July 1, 2025, and has at least 25% of its student enrollment composed of publicly funded students attending during this school year, and allows for out-of-state tuitioning to public and private schools of neighboring states and provinces. So that's a difference.
The State Board of Education appointment piece is actually really important because currently, it had actually a lot more in the House bill about this, because currently the problem is that currently the board is composed of 60% representatives from private schools to govern public schools. And and those are all gubernatorial appointments.
That's bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and then lastly, tuition payments. Tuition paid to a public or independent school is equal to the base amount and any weights that the student carries in the foundation formula. And the Senate response does not include this provision. That's a big overview, high-level view. Elizabeth, is there anything else that you think would be important to mention?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. In the House bill, I'm not sure, like just taking a step back. First of all, the Senate came out with this draft on Thursday. I shared with a few people, but they are doing a markup every single day this week according to their agenda. So it'll change a lot between now and when they vote it out. They're not even scheduled to vote on it this week. And mind you, I'm talking about the Senate committee. It still has to get out of committee before it can go to the Senate floor. So they're still going to continue marking it up. They did the copy that is up right now is extremely shoddy. Like it has some due dates being in 2024, and whatnot. It was kind of hastily done, but a couple of the things that I think are important for the House version of the bill are one thing for Bill Yates in particular. It requires the State Board of Education to come up with graduation requirements in the next 12 months. So, which is good, right?
Yeah, it is good, but I can imagine how rushed that would be to get that done within 12 months.
Yeah.
But I do know they've been working on it.
They have not been working on it.
Oh, they haven't? Well,
no, they have not. They've been working on the education quality standards. They've got that set, but they have not been working on they've been talking about working on the graduation requirements, but they have not worked on it.
the difference, thank you for clarifying that.
I can tell you because I attend every single one of these meetings.
And she's still smiling.
No.
Oh, it's sunny out.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch. The House version of the bill does a lot of changes that are good for education in general. Does a lot with the State Board of Education. Requires the Agency of Education to get its act together with regards to special education. Requires the State Board of Education to get its act together in a bunch of different ways that it really has not been. It is not done in several years now. The Senate version of the bill does not include any of those requirements. So that the House kind of theory is getting our act together first, and then slowly moving through methodically through the rest of potential changes, but doing it in a way that is very rational. And the Senate and the House committee is made up almost entirely of educators and school board members. And so they have put a lot of thought into, they have kept students first in the when they've been working through all of this. And in the Senate version of the bill, or in the Senate committee, the committee is made up largely of people who serve on the boards of private schools. And so you'll see the difference between the requirements, or the difference between the way that public and private schools are treated in the Senate version. Again, a lot more will change. The Senate is much more interested in adhering to the governor's original proposal, actually, which is a little bit wild. So it may be a starker difference by the end of the week than it is right now.
Anne Marie has her hand up. Is that okay?
Yep, Anne Marie.
I just wanted to ask Elizabeth if she knows if any of our senators, our Windsor senators, are on any of these committees and what we should be saying to them.
No, they are not. On the Senate education, the most accessible people are probably Nadir Hashim, who's down in Windham County, and Senator Sharon Hinsdale. Those are the two most accessible people. Then there's Seth Bongartz, Senator Bongartz, who is over in Manchester. And he, of course, is doing everything he can to protect the burn. And so, but if you were going to write a letter to somebody, I would write it to either Ishran Ram Hinsdale or Nader Hashim, or both.
So, a couple things. I did put a 2-second my perspective. I would prefer whatever bill it is does nothing as opposed to do it too fast.
Yes.
Yep.
Also, Christine and I had a discussion before one of the negotiations regarding this summer's SU board retreat, with the possibility of having the retreat and inviting all board members to have a frank and honest discussion regarding the possibility of merging into a single district and how that would then roll into the possibility of a regional high school. Just kind of have that open,
Yeah, just to
honest
talk about.
discussion. And so Christine thought of it because I was going through one of my new brainchilds, and Christine said, hey, maybe we should talk about this as a whole district. And I was like, sure. So.
Yeah, it's more about being proactive in terms of what's going to happen to us. That's all.
Yeah.
And
So-
on this particular list, it's that tuition payments at the bottom that is really going to hit Heartland in particular, but also Weathersfield. And without controlling those costs in any way, to kind of look at and how we can have a discussion and then take a temperature and then possibly have a meeting with Woodstock and say, hey, what
Oh,
are our possibilities?
I should add that the House version of the bill preserves school choice for like not just for current districts, but current towns that have school choice. And they envision a 4,000 person, the districts being 4,000 people. Or 4,000 students, I'm sorry, there's a difference there, and which is a huge difference actually. And the one advantage of that is like when we were going through Act 46, West Windsor wanted to explore the possibility of merging Albert Bridge with Reading Elementary School, but we were not allowed to actually even talk because they were part of the Windsor Central and we were Windsor Southeast. So there are some small advantages of a 4,000 student district, and it would also tremendously lower or raise the tax base so that it would lower taxes. On the other hand, loss of local control, of course, which we have never experienced before, so it would take a lot of getting used to, and there would be a lot of pain there. But
at the same time, though, I can't foresee a 4,000 student school district being logical within the geographic confines of Vermont. I mean, if I look at
You'd have to have multiple high schools.
Yeah.
well, let me just say this. Let me say this. A 4,000 student district means that we would have 22 districts. Okay. What the Senate is proposing is 14 districts. What the governor wants, of course, is 5 districts. So 22 districts is, to me, a lot preferable than either 14.
So a 4,000 would be Windsor Southeast, Woodstock, Hartford would not quite make it to 4,000, but it would be close.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then include in Springfield, then that would put it over. So
Just a full frame of reference here. How many districts are there currently in the state?
a lot.
58, 58, something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, looking up north,
Yeah.
Denali,
Geographically.
Chittenden County, to be able to create that and But-
I have heard from Norwich that if we built a regional high school, that they would be interested in joining.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, and also, I think Woodstock would be interested in just the simple fact to have a way to dump Killington.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess the way once I do the math, I guess 4,000 is not completely out of but I think the first step would be to create a 4,000 student SU and try to go from there. I don't know.
We will keep you updated.
Yep,
It's
okay.
ever changing, so. I included, just so you know, age 54 is back on the floor being talked about. I don't know if they're gonna push to pass it this year or have language for next year. It is the cell phone bill. John asked that we talk about it a little bit tonight. I put John Arison, who's on the Weathersfield board. Yeah, he brought it to my attention that it was back on the floor. And it came up today in my meeting. So I think the concern was or could be how you interpret utilizing social media for communication with students directly. And I think that Larry and I talked about what that means. You shouldn't be direct messaging students through social media. Staff should not be doing that. So
That's prohibited already.
it's already prohibited.
Yeah.
And if that's what it means, that's great. And the other part was, do we allow students access to social media on our school devices? And we do not currently.
It's currently blocked,
Yeah,
nothing's
it's blocked.
100%, but
Right.
social media is blocked on Chromebooks.
Yeah.
And you did that as a board, I think.
A couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere this year or not. Elizabeth, you might know.
I do. Well, I do know that the cell phone policy is definitely going through this year. I think it might be voted by the end of the week. And this bill is the two things on the House side in the House Education Committee, according to their agenda for this week, because I have just looked at all the agendas. The House Education Committee is looking at this bill and the cell phone bill this week. So
Okay.
it should be moving, but if you're interested, you can watch the videos. You don't have to tune in for the discussion per se, but you can watch them at your leisure on the
Site. So,
website. If you need help with that, let me know.
excellent. Thank you. All right. I just wanted to update you on the executive order. The Title VI certification letter did go out from the agency, from Zoe and other people at the agency. And it was quite controversial, what the superintendents were being asked to do. But in the end, the letter came from the state, the agency. And so basically, it states that that we do follow Title VI, and we remain confident that Vermont schools have consistently complied with Title VI and continue to do so, including through our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And so basically stated the state is proud to certify our schools' continued compliance with Title VI obligations as they actually exist in law, not as federal administration would like them to. I believe I heard that Vermont joined 18 other states in a lawsuit against the US Ed seeking a declaration that the April 3rd certification requirement is unlawful, null, and void. So
And
I heard something.
that was decided on Friday as having been unlawful.
It was. Okay, great.
Yeah, Zoe sent out an email, I think today.
Excellent. Yep. So that's good news. Okay, I want to update you on central office staffing for next year. So you'll hear in our discussion items or items for action, our associate director of special education is retiring, resigning from the position. And with that happening and discussions with Katie and the new special ed director, Jennifer, our plan is to shift responsibilities to some of the associate director's responsibilities to the current special education coordinator and add more days to her contract. and see how that goes. We're trying to be fiscally responsible, and Jennifer knows if that she's feeling like she needs more support, we can come back to the board. But for now, it's a way to try to be fiscally responsible, especially not knowing what's going to happen with our Title II funds, which do fund half of our curriculum director's position. So I just wanted to let you know that that's our plan.
And Christine reached out to me, and I sent out an email. Unfortunately, I didn't do DCC because
You forgot.
I forgot.
It's okay.
But I felt it would better to move forward with that than to wait and lose that opportunity for that fiscally responsible plan that we could always change.
So I just wanted to let you know we're headed there and say it publicly. So the quarterly report is in the portal. I will pull it up and just show you the end of it. Larry's gonna chime in with me if need be. Let's just get to there. Okay, you can see it. I can't see it. My screen. Just give me a minute. One second. Just real slow tonight.
Christine, can I just pipe in a couple of little things that I forgot to mention
please.
from the H454? The House version of the bill does do away with the excess spending threshold, and it does do away, it does set all tuitions at the same rate, which is the minimum. It'll be set at the whatever the whatchamacallit is.
The private school rate? Would it be
Private and
just the same?
public schools will be set at the same rate. They will not be set at the there will no longer be an allowable rate.
Yeah.
It will instead be set at the whatever the funding formula is.
None of our tuition in schools are anywhere near the
Right.
state average.
And so my guess, I laid out the math for one of my colleagues at Hartford, who was also a taxpayer, and about if it was implemented for next year, the budget hole for this particular school district would be huge because of the roughly 128, exactly 128 tuition students that are there.
Right.
To lose $2,000 to $3,000 for each one of those students.
I think it's closer to $3,000 or $4,000.
Right. But even if it's $3,000, at least $500,000 hole.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like it's too sudden of a change.
Yeah, too sudden of a change.
People can't react.
So I don't know why this is not coming up.
Mind you, Nikki, that what according to the bill, that would be implemented in 2029.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah. Then there would be time. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But it would be a rather large shift for.
Yes.
So basically, when we ended the third quarter, I've since updated the financial. So I've broken it out
Can't
by.
see it there. I don't know why it won't
I've
share.
broken it up by administration, operations, and special education. This has been on the portal since April 1st. So basically where we are is, non-special ed spending is over $65,000. And that's almost all, 85,000 of which is gasoline. As you remember, we are currently under a transportation contract. The new contract that the board ratified or picked out of the RFP was has a much better gasoline rate for us, and so I expect that to be fine for next year. The main concern is special ed spending, is over expenditure budget by roughly $500,000 in tuition, $500,000 in purchase services, and over $100,000 in administration salaries, which is what the board decided to do. Remember last year after the budget was passed, we took out the associate director and we put it back in. So that's, roughly 1.2 million. We're hoping that the revenue catches up to that with the intensive needs revenue. I submit a report quarterly to the state. The next one's due August 1st, so we won't have final numbers till August and what our options are. But just wanted to give you a heads up. That's where we are. I'm checking the revenue estimates weekly at this point to try to give you the best options in the summer if this continues.
And Katie is prepared. We've been talking at length with Katie. She's coming next month to present. And, when Larry and I have talked with her, she has had some unexpected move-ins, and she has had to hire some additional BIs through HCRS, and that is some of the increase. So as Larry said, we don't know exactly where we're gonna land, but we want you to be, we don't want any surprises. So at this point, it looks like we're over. We don't know if we'll end over or under, but just keeping you updated as to where we're at. I thought I heard a
Christine,
hand. Yeah.
And Larry, sorry to be stuck on H454, but another thing that the House did was they changed the fiscal year to match the school year. So the December letter would actually come out on July 1,
Yeah.
so that it makes it easier to budget.
Yes, I remember hearing about that. That's pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. My last slide, if it lets me go forward, I don't know what's happened, but I seem to be frozen. It's just important dates. So the graduation dates that are coming up: Windsor High School, June 6th at 7. Windsor Middle Passages, June 12th at 6. Albert Bridge, June 12th at 9. Weathersfield, June 9th at 6. And Heartland, June 12th at 4. So 3 on June 12th. So be busy day. And then 1 on the 9th and 1 on the 6th. But we're looking forward to those. And I can't believe it's already almost graduation. And Summer Academy, paperwork's gone out. Katie's planning it all. She won't be running it, but she is setting it up for success. And it'll run July 7th through August 1st. And that concludes my report.
I've got a question about the Summer Academy.
Sure.
Is that using the last of the ARPA funds?
No,
Or
we used that last year. We're using Medicaid reimbursement and talking about what we're gonna do if that goes away for the following year. So Katie's, we've talked about what it costs to run the program. It's an awesome program for our kids, and we're making it work this year. If Medicaid stays in place, we could probably get away with it again, but if not, we'll have to talk about how we fund that program in a different way. Yeah, good question. She's still continuing. Last year we implemented, so it's a half day, but Wednesday's a full day and they go on a field trip. All the kids go somewhere.
Nice.
And so we're continuing that this year. We had great feedback on that last year, so. All right, back to you, Bill.
Okay. Items for discussion followed by motions. Substitute pay. I know I believe there's been some discussions in the local districts about substitute pay.
Yep.
I believe that we at least landed on $150 as a starting point.
We did. Weathersfield was a yes. Mount Scottney, we talked about it. Well, Heartland, we didn't. Did we talk about it formally? I have it
We
on.
voted on it.
We didn't vote on. Well, it's on this next week's agenda.
Oh, okay.
So, but
I think it's a good first step into dealing with an issue that we will discuss during executive session, but what do people think about voting it on the SU level at this point? Because it would have to be approved by all boards. because the SU hires substitutes for special ed teachers.
Yep.
Even though it's not as often. Thoughts? Okay, I will take a motion to update substitute pay to a $150 a day.
So moved.
Okay, we'll go around the room. Elizabeth, how do you vote?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Back to July 1.
Yes, effective July 1st. Morning. Anne Marie?
Aye.
Davis, you're right there.
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Nancy? Megan?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
And John.
And John?
Aye.
You're hidden, John. Thank you, John. Okay, resignation.
Okay. I have a resignation from Tom DeBalzi. I'm happy to read it to you. Short, it is with a heavy heart and a lot of hesitation that I submit this letter informing you that I will not be renewing my contract for the 25-26 school year. This past year has been one of the best of my over 35 years in education in the Upper Valley. I've enjoyed the support gained from the challenges and look forward to continue coming to work each day in this amazing school district. I have only praise for the two of you who wrote to Katie and myself. I was trying to not say that, but and the opportunity you provided me. However, my decision to not return is based solely on the stage I am in my life. I'm fortunate enough to be able to retire. I feel it is the right time. My wife is also retiring, and we both look forward to traveling on less hectic days together. Additionally, we became aware both our daughters are expecting children within the next 6 months. So it's very exciting for them. So he's saddened that he didn't come to WSESU earlier in his career. But anyway, Tom is leaving. That's the resignation.
Yeah, we do not need to vote on that.
No.
Elizabeth?
Thanks. Christine, are all of the contracts in for next year?
For teachers and support staff.
Yeah.
And we have a few staff members who requested an extension. I think we have 4 who haven't signed for teaching. Support staff don't have their contracts yet. They just have letters of intent because we didn't have a contract. Administrators, yes. We held off on the one special ed because I wanted to talk to the board about it tonight, but yes.
And I would like to request that Christine be reviewed. Thank you.
Yes, Elizabeth, that's one thing I wanted to bring up in executive session, just kind of to throw out there about assistance in that. But now that I'm done with negotiations, I will have, I hope, more time to devote to that. It's been a busy time as a board member. Retirement?
Yeah, I've got 3 actually.
Okay.
One is Mary Rasco, who has been in our district for 32 years, our SEO. She's been a support staff member. She's worked in the kitchen at Heartland. She currently works in the kitchen at Weathersfield, but she is ready to retire and spend more time with her family. So that's Mary Rasco. I have Judy Shambo, who's also a support staff member. Sending the letter with some joy, but also filled with sadness, wanting to express her gratitude sincerely and what an honor it's been to serve the community for the past 20 years. So those 2. And then I have Jean Morse, who is, is a school counselor at Heartland, and he's now a school psych for us part-time, but he is actually, he told me, for real retiring. He went to part-time, but now he's retiring. So those 3 are the retirements.
There was another one on a MOU contract.
I brought that to Heartland because she's
Outstanding. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah. These are just SU employees.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. Okay.
She did tell us.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Yeah. Is Kieran Zito still with our SU?
Kieran is very part-time. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Just wondering.
Yeah. I think it's 2 days a week, Elizabeth. Focuses mostly on truancy. across the SU, yes. Okay, so those are retirements.
Okay. Family
Yep,
leave request.
Family leave request, which is from Carissa Van Alstine. She is writing to let us know that she will be on childcare leave starting September 4th, and she'll be taking 6 weeks and returning to work after. We do vote on those because she can come back and request more time based on the contract, I believe. I mean, she gets to take it, but
Yeah, I don't think we could vote no.
no, you can't.
Yeah.
But
So
she-
I
but she-
don't think we actually
She's
vote
having-
on those.
You can, well, if she wants more time, then
She would
then
have to come back
yeah.
and then we would vote on it, yes.
Okay.
That's in the contract, okay. Not that I don't like the vote, but
I just wanna, from the Heartland side, thank Mary
Mhm.
and Jean, because those two were staples in Heartland for most of my kids'
Yeah.
time there. And they were staples for a lot of,
Yeah.
half of the adults in Heartland's time there, so,
Yeah.
You're amazing.
yeah.
I was just wanted to double check because I have to deal with that MOU every year.
No more, Bill.
Okay. Executive session,
New hire, one new hire first.
that's right, I'm sorry.
Okay, so one new hire. This is a special ed teacher. Her name is Molly Stevens.
Okay.
She's got a BA from the University of Vermont, a master's from Castleton State. She's been a special ed teacher in Vermont for the past 23 years. And we would like to offer her a position as a special ed teacher in our SU. I think she would be assigned at Weathersfield
For
for
next year.
somebody who's leaving, yeah, yep. So I do need a vote on that one.
Yes, we do. But I will take a voice vote because I'm not sure that we could ever pass up on a special ed teacher at this point in this hiring range.
I would move that we hire
Molly Stevens.
Molly Stevens.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Executive session, the ESA section 313 to do with discussion on contracts. Okay. I will take a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, I will take a motion to approve the FY 26, 27, and 28 negotiated support staff contract.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Elizabeth, how do you vote?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Anne Marie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Nancy? Megan?
Aye.
And I am a grateful and appreciative aye. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
For you.
Okay. So, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And I will like to reiterate again that Elizabeth, you've really made my night tonight, you know, with your smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
I
Bill.
like the 6 p.m.
Bye
start
for now.
time.